Okay, good morning, everyone. Mr. Larry Dent, Commercial Loan Officer of Hope Credit Union. You can begin.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. I'll be presenting to you a brief, hopefully it's a brief presentation of what Hope Credit Union is. I know a lot of you guys probably have not heard of Hope. Feel free to ask any questions as we go along through the slides because I know sometimes when I go through presentations, it's just giving information, but I would rather answer any particular questions that you guys may have so I can better assist you in what it is that you need, because just because I'm going over something, I may not touch on what exactly that you need. So feel free to stop me at any moment. So you can go to the next slide, Ms. Kim. So Hope's impact, we've been around since 1994. We've generated over $2 million in financing and related services to unbankable individuals. We serve entrepreneurs, homeowners, nonprofit, healthcare, school organizations, community development organizations, and we're located in several states: Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, and Tennessee. Next slide. So at Hope, what we do is basically we try to provide the banking for those individuals who are unbanked. We try to reach those who are in communities where they may not have a bank presence. We help those who are business owners that may have difficulty trying to receive lending from lenders. We kind of work in that middle space where we can help the individuals that may be not ready for a traditional lender, but we can get them in the door and actually help them get things together. Instead of, you may not have a 600 credit score, you may have a 550. We can kind of work with you and put you in the right space to make sure that we can help you and get you over the hump. We're considered a Hope in a corporation, which is a nonprofit. We have different loan funds, which actually help us come up with several different programs so we can help community development policies and changes when it comes to trying to build in certain communities and locate different offers for business owners. We are a CDFI, which is a community development financial institution. And then we're a regular credit union. We're federally chartered. Again, we're member owned, and we're a community development institution as well. Our mission is to strengthen communities, build assets, and improve lives in economically distressed areas in the Mid-South by providing access to affordable, high-quality financial products and related services. We're based out of Jackson, Mississippi. I'm located in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We have 2 offices in the New Orleans area and me out here in Louisiana. So that's our, I guess you can say, 3 locations here in Louisiana, but we're able to work across all the states that we're located in. You can go to the next slide. So again, here we go. Our 31 locations that we have around the 5-state area. I think I forgot to mention Alabama. And 75% of our branches are in high poverty areas. Next slide. We have over 44,000 members. 33 of those members were unbanked prior to joining Hope. Again, we help individuals to get over that hump. You see that we've banked over 50%. We're almost at 50% of household incomes less than $36,000 a year. 55% are not employed, and 72% of those are African American. Next slide. This is just giving some numbers on how we actually help our members. 67% of consumer loans are in economically distressed areas. Next slide. Mortgages, the same thing. We helped over 87% of our members as first-time home buyers. So we're not just an institution that does just regular lending. We do consumer lending, we do mortgages, we do commercial loan, we do small business loans. We do a plethora of things to try to help the community in those areas where they're lacking. Next slide. Again, there we go. 47% of our business loans are made to minority-owned businesses and women-owned businesses. Next slide. We've helped serve 4,700 students because we also come up with different funds and policy institutes where we can help build schools throughout our 5-state area. And we have several schools in Louisiana that we're working with or have done in the past to help build certain schools. Next slide. Another thing that we've helped is eliminate food deserts in certain areas. And that's over 14,000 people we've helped, because we know in some areas they don't have grocery stores within maybe a 20 or 30-minute mile radius, and especially in certain small towns. So what we do is go out and see how we can help put in some type of program where we can help these communities have their own fresh foods. Next slide. And this is just a community development we help in Moorhead, Mississippi. Next slide. Focus areas. Again, these are the areas when it comes to dealing with businesses. We deal a lot with healthcare, school facilities, affordable housing, fresh food retailers, and small businesses. Next slide. And the next few slides are really just some businesses that we've helped in the past to help get them off the ground and running. This is a facility in New Orleans where we helped actually build this new location for this company a few years back. Next slide. This is another one, just an example of an education facility we helped build, Encore Academy in New Orleans. We also have a few here in Baton Rouge as far as IDEA schools. We've helped fund part of those schools that are up and coming around town. Next slide. Affordable housing. We do help different community developments who like to come in and build residential housings and make them affordable in certain neighborhoods and certain areas of town, that we can able to institute different policies and procedures to help build this going forward. Next slide. And again, another company that we've helped out in New Orleans, Sun Tropics Landscape. Next slide. And another company as well, Safe Spot Pest Control. We just like to put a lot of our businesses on here just to show individuals that we are here to help business owners when they think they don't have anybody that's going to help them or put forth the effort to try to see where they are and where they're trying to go. We at Hope do our best to help clients get to where they need to go. Next slide. And another small business owner, you can go to the next one. So this is a way that we're able to leverage funds for community investments. We use new market tax credits. We have community facilities re-lending programs. We have CDFI funds. We're able to get funds from the state and local government. And we also use our own funding from our credit union like any other institution would use. So that's basically the last source, is like the source that all institutions use, but we're able to use other funding as well to be able to come up with these different pools and programs to put money directly into certain programs. We're able to get possibly lower interest rates, or we're able to add incentives to the program to make them more attractable to business owners, and also just make it available for them to feel like it's something they can use, it's something that'll help them, and it's something that, it'll really help build their business. We can go to the next slide. And this is one that's very big that we have going on right now. And actually, it's the program we have in Baton Rouge, but it's in Louisiana and all our other states as well. It's called the Baton Rouge Healthy Food Retail Initiative. So what we're doing with this initiative, we've partnered up with East Baton Rouge Parish and the Mayor's Office to basically create financing at low interest loans and several incentives to supermarkets, grocery stores, and other fresh food retailers that are located or plan to locate in low to moderate income areas in East Baton Rouge Parish. The intent of the program is to enable operators to open, renovate, or expand retail outlets that sell fresh fruits and vegetables. Like I mentioned earlier, we have certain areas in town that I know of in Baton Rouge where we've had a grocery store and the grocery store left, and then another grocery store has came and gone again. So our thing is to help those who may have contact with a grocery store, or who know someone who owns one who's looking to expand or has experience managing one. We're just looking for those businesses that want to make a difference and come in the community and actually provide for those areas that have to drive 20 miles or more just to get to a grocery store, and they don't have something they can go right down the street in their own neighborhood and community and feel like it's theirs. Have individuals who live in the community work there. So that's what we're trying to do with this Baton Rouge Healthy Food Retail Initiative is basically bring a grocery store or a healthy food, fresh alternative place to an area in Baton Rouge where it's really needed and that we know we're putting the best foot forward for its community. Next slide. And this is just showing the impacts that we've had across our 5 states as far as we've done in the past couple of years, 9 different projects, created over 400 jobs, square footage of different locations, and we've leveraged over $43 million in these programs. You can go to the next slide. And this is just, of course, some examples, some things we've helped. This Whole Foods was located in the low to moderate income area. We helped them actually just get a facelift on the building and provide for that area. Next slide. And this is just some numbers, which may not be relative to you, but it just shows you how we actually put the deals together, different places where we can access funds to be able to fund these large projects. Next slide. And this is just a smaller grocery store that's in New Orleans as well. And you can go to the next slide on that one. And again, it shows this one is a little bit smaller than the first one, but it just shows what different companies we've worked with or where we receive funding from to help put money towards the project. It shows you the size of the building, how many jobs, where it's located, and just the experience that individuals have that work with that grocery store. Next slide. And of course, we've worked with Shoppers Value Foods. This is just another project just to give you examples of how we are able to help individuals and certain grocers who are trying to expand in those areas. We know sometimes when these companies want to expand to certain areas, they feel a pushback because they may feel like security is an issue, theft is an issue. So we just have to come in and partner with different individuals to help them feel comfortable about putting these stores in certain areas because we know it's something that's needed. Next slide. Of course, this is a grocery store that's in Grambling, Louisiana. I think it's close to the college up there in Grambling. And this is a model that we're trying to look at possibly bringing out here. It's just a local grocery store, hiring college kids and people in the neighborhood. But it's different ways that we can set things up. So this Legends Market is just something different that can help us try to see how we can actually put things in Baton Rouge area, in those areas that need help. Because not every deal is simple. Not every deal is the same. All of them have ins and outs to them and best practices, the way we can put them together. Next slide. And this is just, something on a smaller scale, but it's more realistic as far as if you're a business owner, you may have a grocery store, some type of fresh food initiative, just giving you the amount that we have and what they use with the funding and the jobs it provided. And see at the bottom, it gave access to over 10,000 people for fresh foods that didn't have that before. So that's what we look at, just helping those individuals out in the community to help bring the best quality that we can on our end as far as finding someone who's willing to participate and go in those areas. Next slide. And that is it of my presentation. I went over in depth the Healthy Food Retail Initiative because that's something that we're working on hard right now. We're trying to get something going and get some traction going in that. However, we do, like I said, we work with a plethora of business owners. No matter what your business is, we basically meet you where you are and figure out how can we get you to where you are, to where you're trying to be. And if anyone has any questions, you can feel free to email me, call me, or text me, or you can send me a chat in the group and I'll do my best to get an answer back to you. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Thank you, Mr. Larry Dents, Jr. Our next presenter, if you're online, please proceed.
Hi, this is Chris Goranson. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Excellent. If y'all wouldn't mind, I think we were going to flip over to my presentation. Perfect. And let me do one other thing. Let me put my camera back on. I apologize for that. You all can see me. Excellent. I want to kind of take a moment and just touch on a few things I've heard so far this morning before we really get going. I think that Mr. Matthew Butler did an amazing job about talking about a vision, goals, and success. I really appreciated what Mr. Larry Dent's just kind of talked about, and I think he did a great job of articulating his organization's vision, the goals, and the successes. I know that these opportunities are available. This was an excellent opportunity, care of the airport and facilitated by Mr. Kenyatta, for us give us a chance to connect and ultimately help small businesses succeed. So really appreciate the platform. If I could go to the next slide. My goal today is to try to help demystify how public purchasing works, especially within the city of Baton Rouge and the parish of East Baton Rouge. I am a government employee. I work for the taxpayers of the city of Baton Rouge, the parish of East Baton Rouge, and I really do take to heart that my goal is to help facilitate access to opportunities and to do everything that I am empowered to do to change or to become more inclusionary and to address maybe past practices that inadvertently became exclusionary to opportunities. So the City of Baton Rouge and the Parish of East Baton Rouge certainly seek to ensure equity in our contracting activities. As the Mayor mentioned in her kickoff speech, based on the study commissioned by the City Parish under the administration of this Mayor, and through Keene, we identified that the following enterprises have been underutilized in our City Parish contracting opportunities. We will continue to take intentional action to level the playing field and engage more. I think that we have had some successes, but I would certainly tell you that the administration's perspective and my perspective, we are not even close to the finish line. So our goal and our intention is to understand and continue to break down barriers to allow our MBEs, women-owned businesses, veteran service disabled veteran businesses, an opportunity to compete, win, and earn bids and opportunities within City Parish, and we're doing that by leveling the playing field. Can I have the next slide, please? I think it's important to understand what's within our control and how the City Parish, based on federal, state, and local laws, procures items and those types of items. So my intention today is to just try to make sure that we're all calibrated within what opportunities we have, how government purchasing works, and how proposers can engage, and the things that we can do to help facilitate successful outcomes. So at a very high level, we start with an agency need and identification. So one of my agencies needs to procure something. And then based on what that is, we evaluate that request through governing laws that may have federal, state, or city parish ordinances that dictate how we procure those items. Based on the need identification for either a service or a product, we evaluate if we already have an existing contract or if there's existing options. We do put annual contracts in place that are competitively bid, and we're not going to rebid every time somebody wants a pen or a notepad. Based on if we don't have existing contracts or options, then we continue to refine the scope and the specifications. From there, and based on the item that we're going to be sourcing, we then look at it through a contracting strategy, and I'll be candid in telling you that we are purposely trying to evaluate how we make these opportunities available to DVEs. From there, we will go through a formal solicitation process, and that solicitation process, once it's closed, gets into evaluation and selection, and based on the final evaluation and selection, we make an award. So the next slides are going to kind of expand on some governing laws. They're going to talk about contracting strategies. We're going to talk about the solicitation and the evaluation and the award. The goal is always to make myself available to answer any questions that you may have as we go through this and to demystify how public purchasing works. Next slide, please. So when we talk about types of solicitations, words have meaning, and I think it's imperative that we all baseline on what those words mean. So There is something called a quote, and that is singular. So the city parish agencies do have delegated authority to spend up to $5,000. So if there is an item that they're looking to procure, and we want to be efficient and get maybe the right tools or the right services into the hands of the user agency, per plan of government and the ordinances, the agency has a right, and they have the delegated decision rights to go ahead and engage and spend up to $5,000 on that item. In the event that the spend is going to be greater than $5,000 and up to $30,000, we solicit quotes. And quotes are more informal, and those typically our policy between $5,000 and $10,000 is to solicit 3 quotes, and greater than $10,000 to $30,000, we would like 5 quotes, but the minimum per the ordinance is 3. Our vendors are solicited randomly using our research randomizer. Specifically, those vendors are identified through vendor self-service, and we're going to touch a little bit on vendor self-service in a few minutes. I think that the mayor highlighted that we have grown the number of DBEs in our database extensively over the last several years to the tune of 400 or 500%. I don't look through the yellow pages to find a vendor. I'm looking through our vendor self-service tool to identify vendors based on their registration and based on the commodity codes that they've said and the services they provide to make those solicitations. In the event that the spend is going to be greater than $30,000 per public bid law, we do an invitation to bid. Now, we may do an invitation to bid or a request for proposal. And we're going to kind of talk about how we use those different tools based on the spend type and the category of spend. Next slide, please. So in terms of the award criteria, or in terms of kind of going to market to make the solicitation, it really does vary by product or service. If we think of goods and materials, it's going to be a price-based decision. If we're thinking about public works, it is a price-based decision. For professional service agreements, we are evaluating both the qualifications and the price. And for services, we are typically doing that based on a request for proposal evaluation, where once again, we are evaluating the solution to create the best value for the taxpayers and for the city parish, and ultimately the agency. This also assumes that all bid evaluations are responsive and responsible, and I want to make sure I touch on that at the end. So if we think about it as something tangible I can physically touch, it could be a computer, it could be a shovel. That is going to be a price-based decision. That is how public bid law is established. Public works is the erection, construction, modification, or alteration of public property. Once again, that's going to be a price-based decision. On professional service agreements, it would be qualifications. So professional service agreements has a definitive meaning in the state public bid law, and examples of professional service agreements and professionals would include architects, engineers, accountants, consultants with specialty designations, a doctor, those types of folks. Certainly there we want to make sure we have the most qualified person and a price that fits within our budget. Next slide, please. So if we kind of take all those words and try to create a visual for you, and I'd ask that you always kind of keep the slide handy. The procurement of goods and materials, less than $5,000 is going to be an informal quote, and if it's a non-professional service, so maybe it's a painting of a room, under $2,000 we do an informal quote. If the spend is going to be between $5,000 and $30,000, we solicit multiple quotes, and per public bid law, both within our ordinance as well as the state revised statute 382212, anything greater than $30,000, we do a formal public bid notification. For public works, per our bid laws, between $1,000 and $2,499, just below $25,000, we can solicit an informal quote. Between $25,000 and $250,000, we are required to get multiple quotes, and anything greater than $250,000, we are required to do a formal public bid notification. For professional services, an informal quote between $1,000 and $2,000. You'll see kind of, for multiple quotes, we have options. We can do a no quote. We can do multiple quotes. We could do an RFP or a bid solicitation. public bid law, you know, the services don't necessarily apply. And then for whether we have to do a formal public notification, once again, with professional services, it varies. And why does that vary? So if we're looking for somebody that has a very specialized definition of professional services, public bid law is designed for us to identify them based on their qualifications and negotiate in good faith. And I think for those of you that have an opportunity to listen to Metromorphosis, specifically the activities going on with MOVEBR, they have done a phenomenal job of qualifying professionals and then negotiating in good faith within the budget within MOVEBR to solicit those professional services. So once again, as a reminder, public works, construction, erection, modification, or alteration of public property, professional services narrowly being defined by the state. It is illegal to divide up a purchase to avoid public bid law. So I certainly, if I needed, and I'll make up an example, if I needed 10 servers for IT and each server was $4,900, I cannot say that I informally quoted one server 10 different times. We are purposeful in trying to understand and aggregate up the spend for the total amount. Next slide, please. So a lot of times there is a perception that awards are made and folks aren't notified, and that is never our intention. So based on trying to be efficient, based on the public bid laws, that sort of dictates the process with which we do a solicitation, a quote, or a formal bid invitation. So a lot of the questions I typically receive are all opportunities made available to any vendors? And so I would answer it based on the previous discussion that no, there are instances where city parish would leverage an existing contract or even a state contract that's been competitively bid or piggyback off of other municipalities when appropriate. So if it's already been competitively bid and there's a state contract that's establishing price, we have the option of either going to market or leveraging the state contract, or if it's another local municipality, asking them to piggyback off of their existing contract. Next slide, please. So how does, based on that process flow, what is the roles, responsibilities, and the expectations of the agencies as well as city parish purchasing? So another question that I frequently get, and I'm always purposeful to help share and understand, is how do decisions get made? We've talked about how we operate within the public bid law, but let's talk about some folks' specific roles and responsibilities. So for city parish purchasing, our engagement does vary by either department or potentially a cooperative endeavor agreement that the administration through the Metro Council has engaged in with maybe another agency. For most city parish departments, the City Parish Procurement Organization, my organization, is responsible for managing the entire process. Thinking back to that bubble graph, from based on the initial request of a product or a service all the way through to final award. There are notable exceptions where city parish has a slightly different role, and it's much more of a compliance role. Where we have PSAs, professional services agreements, or ultimately cooperative endeavors agreements, large public works projects, MOVEBR, this slide says EBRRA, which is really Build Baton Rouge, and some of our communications districts. So those are examples of agencies, and I'll give you a few. So MOVEBR's is large construction projects, and the state kind of defines how we do those, and there's a selection committee that looks at skills and capability. That's how you become a qualified bidder, and we work through them. For the Build Baton Rouge Redevelopment Authority, or Chris Tyson's organization, we have had an opportunity to receive CDBG funds. This is a lot around community revitalization. The Chris Tyson, the organization over there, through the Cooperative Endeavor Agreement, they are doing a lot of the solicitations and the initial screening and the bid award to vendors for renovations, home improvements, and those types of things. And then when we talk about multiple districts, our communications district is made up of contributions from both the city parish as well as other agencies like the sheriff's organization that don't fall under this administration or part of the consolidated government, yet the communication district is really important when we think about hurricanes coming in, the ability to deploy resources. So their sourcing, although will sit under a city parish purchasing guideline, does follow the state statutes and not the city parish statute. So in those examples, city parish purchasing department is really responsible for compliance, public bid law, and those types of contracts. We facilitate the process, but I do not necessarily have sole responsibility for the execution of the process. Next slide, please. So what types of contract options and what are the vendor's rights? So we discussed are all opportunities made available to any vendors. We talked about there are instances where we may leverage it. What options does a potential bidder have if they believe the scope or the bid requirements are exclusionary? This is a really relevant data point. All formal bids allow for time and for scope clarification, as well as after award for an opportunity to protest. We source north of $300 to $400 million of items a year, and it is always our intention to make the playing field level and to be inclusionary. Certainly, there are reasons why you would have to have a business license to conduct business with us. That's a state statute. From an insurance requirement standpoint, that is a risk policy that's proposed by the Metro Council. So if you find something that we have an opportunity where we have articulated a scope or an expectation that is exclusionary, we have an opportunity to change that. So what do I mean by that? Our goal is to make services and products interchangeable to ensure that we get the best value for city parish. So if I have specified something that becomes exclusionary to a product or a product line that you may represent, you have a right to question if I have said, Chris, I only want a Ford F-250 truck. I cannot do that. I can say that I want a 3/4-ton truck with a diesel engine with these capabilities. If Ford, Chevy, or Dodge all produce one that meets that, it should be an and or equivalent. So if you believe that the scope we have put out is not inclusive, please challenge us. It is our goal to create the best value and to include as many vendors as we have. You can do that after I've opened the bid, after I've published the bid and before I have opened the bid. And if we need to address the scope or the requirements, we will do that, and we have an opportunity to have a very clean bid opening. I promise you that that will never impact the perception or the outcome of your bid or your proposal. Finally, in the end, if you believe that based on the decision of award that city parish did not follow the ordinances or the letter of the law, you are entitled to protest. The protest, once again, is a position from a vendor that believes that they should have won and for whatever reason did not win. Once again, these are your rights. This organization and myself actually appreciate a protest. There are times where, through a protest, we identify that we followed the letter of the law and that the award did follow the spirit and intent. However, that doesn't mean that the past practice or the interpretation cannot be adjusted. I have learned more from protests than I have any other opportunity in city parish, and it's because it's an opportunity for me as a buyer, as a representative of the administration, to walk a mile in the shoes of a vendor. That door is always open. It's one of the best opportunities we have. Thank you. Next slide. All right. So on that, and I want to take a few minutes before I give up my time, can we go back one? I guess I'll actually kind of include it in terms of this protest. I mentioned that city parish follows public bid law. There are items that the public bid law makes black or white. I have a request of proposers to take the time to read the bid documents. I recognize they are long and they are tedious. There are certain items based on the state law that I cannot waive. I will give examples. I have received bids from vendors. They were clearly the lowest bid. They failed to sign their bid. I cannot accept a bid that hasn't been signed because theoretically a competitor could put your business name on it, submit it, and we would receive it, and it wasn't, you know, if it wasn't signed, I could say this is who I want to award it to, and I have no proof that it was you, the proposer, that was actually submitting the bid. So please, it seems obvious, make sure your bid is signed. In addition, there are some standard bid documents that are required. Please make sure they are filled out as the instructions apply. I represent the taxpayers. The businesses that we're talking to today are taxpayers. They are helping create jobs. They are helping create revenue. They are generating sales tax, and ultimately that sales tax flows back to the community. It is always my intention, wherever I can legally, to award to the lowest responsive and responsible bidder. It is unfortunate for all taxpayers when we have a low bidder who we have to deem as non-responsive because they couldn't follow directions within the bid package. Wherever I can, I have changed the bid package to make something mandatory, to make something as a word shall, where I can correct it after the fact. Unfortunately, state bid law does have items that are mandatory. So please pay particular attention. I cannot advise you on a specific bid when the bid is outstanding. If you want to come to City Parish at any time, talk with myself, anybody in the administration, anybody in this department about examples of or questions that are not specific to an active bid and you are seeking help or knowledge, we will absolutely do our best. I also believe that Mr. Kenyatta and others on this platform are amazing resources. I know that Metromorphosis is coming up, speaking after me, an amazing resource to help navigate public bid law. But I do promise you, coming back to what Mr. Matthew Butler said, the folks on this share the same vision. We want small businesses, disadvantaged businesses, minority businesses to succeed. We want to continue to increase the results and the performance of those businesses, and it is our goal to break down barriers that are preventing successful outcomes. Once again, my name is Chris Goranson. I'm the Purchasing Director of City of Baton Rouge, Parish of East Baton Rouge. Please feel free to reach out to me at any time. Thank you. Mr. Jacob, I don't know if anybody has any questions on the line. They're certainly welcome to ask, but
I'm not seeing any questions at this time, though.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, sir. We're a little ahead of the game. We've got about 10 minutes for the next speaker. At 10:35, we can start back up, or if y'all want to proceed, if Mr. John Smith is on the line, then we can.
Yes, I am on the line.
Okay, great.
I would, the one, I guess, just kind of question I would ask, and I know because there was a lot of things I wanted to be in because of the way the schedule was. So as much as I love that we're ahead, I would just also, I wouldn't want anybody to miss out on Mr. Smith's Fair Share program. It's phenomenal. So some food for thought. I don't want to dictate your schedule, but I know lots of folks are trying to be in two places at once, and really this is such a robust agenda. I'd hate for somebody to miss out on even Miss Banks.
That's fine. We can just take a break. We'll start back
maybe we'll
up.
do a bio break virtually. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Grissom.
Anytime. All right.
Hello, everyone. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, Mr. Smith. Um, yes, if you're ready to start.
Yes, I'm ready. We could go to the first slide. First, I'd like to welcome everyone to this session on the East Baton Rouge Parish Public School System Fair Share Program. I'm John Smith. I'm the coordinator of the program. And I'm excited to be a part of this business opportunity workshop being held today by the Baton Rouge Metropolitan Airport. Next slide, please. These three quotes are quotes I often use. One is by Vince Lombardi. It says, individual commitment to a group effort. That is what makes a team work, a company work, a society work, and a civilization work. The next one is by Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan said, talent wins games, but teamwork and intelligence win championships. And then finally, we have Andrew Carnegie, who said, teamwork is the ability to work together towards a common vision. And the Fair Share program really revolves around these three different quotes, working together as a group, teamwork, and then working towards a common vision. Next slide. Okay, we can have the next slide.
Seems like they're having a little technical difficulty here.
Okay. Okay, so who are we and what is the Fair Share program? And what you can see on this particular slide, while the East Baton Rouge Parish school system is committed to providing education, it's also committed to improving the physical environment in which students continue to receive this education. And this is in part due to the reinvigoration back in 2011 of the Diversity and Minority Inclusion program called the Fair Share program. And the primary objective of the Fair Share program is to help ensure, and that's a key word, help ensure that participation of women and minority-owned businesses occurs as a part of the procurement and contract opportunities within the East Baton Rouge Parish school system. The next slide. So to accomplish this, they established this Fair Share program. But the program has some fundamental core values to it. One is participants are expected, in order to achieve the goals of both the Fair Share program and also their personal goals, to do certain things. And that is to take advantage of the access to opportunities, to also take advantage of specialized training that could be offered through many different partnerships that we have throughout the metropolitan area. But however, when we have a positive impact on both the students and the parents, we feel that we kind of move this whole community forward. And as we know, the East Baton Rouge Parish school system is predominantly African American. So therefore, we want to make sure that the parents of those students and others can take advantage of the construction and renovation projects, as well as other procurement opportunities that are offered through the East Baton Rouge Parish public school system. Next slide. You probably heard a lot this morning about programs, eligibility requirements, taking advantage of DBE certifications. And the Fair Share program has a certification process of its own. So to qualify for the program, a business must be owned and controlled by a socially or economically disadvantaged individual. Some of the criteria for participation in the program includes: one, there must be at least 51% ownership by a person that's a Louisiana resident who is also a minority or a woman-owned person, but also whose personal net worth cannot exceed $400,000. The business net worth at the time of the application can be that of $1.5 million. But in addition to that, what we also say is generally successful applicants must also meet some additional requirements. The business must be in business for, we're going to say, a couple of years, and we say 2 years. Also, the business must be unconditionally owned and controlled by one or more persons that's considered to be disadvantaged, who are U.S. citizens, but who are also in good character. And the good character part just basically says it's a person who historically has completed projects on time, on budget, without any major hiccups. The next slide. So how do we do this? The Fair Share program, we say, uses a comprehensive approach to supplier diversity and MWBE growth, which is anchored by 4 major impact areas. The first impact area we think is most important, that is access to opportunities. Companies must have real access to opportunities. The second one is around relationship building. Most people will admit that we probably do most of our business with persons that we have a personal relationship with. So we spend a fair amount of time trying to help companies build relationship with each other, with the providers of opportunities, as well as some larger companies throughout the area. The other part we want to focus on is a business growth and development education plan, because no company should want to just stay where they are today. Our focus is we want companies to grow such that they can take advantage of bigger projects. And then finally, is access to resources for capital. One of the things we try to really partner companies with is institutions who can help provide them with lines of credit. Because what we realize is that payment terms can be anywhere from 30 to 90 days. Well, a company needs to be able to sustain itself while it's waiting to be paid and while they're waiting to complete a project. So we spend a fair amount of time also trying to help companies connect with financial institutions that can provide them with access to these type things. Next slide. Here's what we talk about when we get back to opportunity issues and how we try to bridge that gap. We say many companies suffer from not having knowledge of opportunities when they exist. So within the EBR school system, we have 3 major places where opportunities occur. One is through the EBR procurement department, the other is through Airmark, and the other is CSRS tillage. So what we try to do is when opportunities come up, we try to make sure that we communicate these opportunities with companies that are in the Fair Share program, but not just send the opportunities out to every company in the Fair Share program, but be strategic in who we send them to. Send them to companies that have a pretty good opportunity of taking advantage of that particular contract that's going to be issued, but also sharing this communication in a timely manner such that they can be prepared. Next slide. This slide shows again who are those 3 major partners. First is through our procurement, and our procurement office handles everything from contracts, from professional development, down to ink cartridges that are bought through the many printers that are within the system. But then with Airmark, because Airmark handles our facilities maintenance and upkeep, many of the projects that come through that are made available have to do with facilities maintenance and have to do with facilities upkeep. So we work closely with Airmark to begin to know when these opportunities are coming, but then also communicate them to persons within the system. Then finally, we have CSRS tillage. CSRS tillage has the contract for the construction and renovation of the facilities. Just right now, we're getting ready to put something out to look at a building that's going to happen on one of the campuses. It's probably about a $1.5 million piece. So we work closely with them to know when opportunities are coming, and then to share those opportunities with persons that are within the Fair Share program. Your next slide. So what's important to companies is knowing how to access these opportunities. Periodically, we conduct sessions focusing on just that, how to access the opportunities. When we do the construction and renovation and maintenance of schools, we sit down and we talk about, one, taking advantage of the pre-bid meetings, because that's one of the main ways you know about an access to an opportunity. Because the first thing that will happen is a communication would go out saying that this opportunity is occurring, and it goes out either in the newspaper or it would go out in an email to persons in the company. And in that, it will specifically talk about the opportunity. It will specifically talk about the timelines of the opportunity, and it will specifically talk about the requirements. The next way that we make sure that persons are aware of it is that we communicate with them the pre-bid conference. Many of the projects that occur will have a pre-bid conference or a pre-project conference. One of the things we stress here is that this is where any person who plans on bidding on a project must attend. So if you are a smaller contractor and you're looking at being a sub to a larger contractor, you want to be at that pre-bid conference, because anybody who's going to bid is going to be there. If you are just interested in bidding on a project, you want to be at that conference, because that's where the specifics of the project are outlined, all the timelines, such that you can make sure that your bid has everything included in it. So this pre-bid conference is one of the most important ways that a person actually has access to opportunities. And it normally occurs either a couple of weeks or a couple of days before bids actually have to be submitted. So this allows adequate time for persons to get the information, make sure that they understand all of the requirements, and actually submit a bid on a project when a bid is required. Next slide. Relationship building. One of the first things we began to work on was redefining the meaning and understanding of terms with our architectural firms. Because in the construction of many new schools and in the renovation of schools, there's a design phase that takes place first. And in that design phase, oftentimes you have persons who are design consultants. And what we found was that sometimes people were not coming to these meetings because they either thought that I am not a company that can actually take advantage of this. So we wanted to clearly clear up all the parts in the design of a school, whereby everybody understands the roles and responsibilities that could happen there. One of the other things we did around relationship building is we did some roundtable discussions where all persons that were a fit for design would be there, the consultants, the major architectural firms, and we put them all together such that they could build these relationships. And one of the things we utilized was a form that we call a company profile form. So a company can talk specifically about what are their strengths and how do they feel they can be a part of a larger team. And then this, what we have illustrated here, each company was allowed to have about 5 minutes to actually talk about their company, to showcase what they do well. And we found that this was very valuable in companies building relationships. Just being in a room, having the opportunity to talk with other companies who do similar work, or companies that they could partner with, or companies that they could do joint ventures with. Next slide. We did something similar on the construction and renovation projects. Again, the first thing you see here is, again, something you've heard mentioned a lot of times today, and that is participation in pre-bid meetings. We encourage companies to be at the pre-bid meetings because, number one, you will be in the room with everyone who's going to bid on a project. So primarily, let's say if you provide painting, well, you want to be in that room with a major contractor or a larger contractor that's going to be looking at persons to provide those resources. If you are a contractor who wants to actually bid on that, you want to be in the room and make sure you hear everything that's a part of that contract. And sometimes we will talk about things that there may be a different way of doing something that had not been thought about. So pre-bid meetings are one of the key ways to find out what's going on and also become a part of a project that will be issued out for bid. Again, what we've done is to help contractors know who are the companies in the Fair Share program. We restructured our database such that we know who does what and what their strengths are. This allows us and others to have access to the companies and for us to be able to clearly share information that is intentional. One of the things we like to talk about is intentional success, not accidental success. On our major projects, there's also a form that if we're building a school, companies have to actually talk about who are the DBE companies that they have reached out to, because we want to make sure that companies are being contacted as we share the information, but also that larger contractors are contracting these companies to actually make sure that they are a part of it. The other thing we try to often emphasize is that it's not about a larger contractor and a smaller contractor, because everybody is a qualified contractor. But it is about building relationships that such that particular aspects of a contracting project can be effectively and efficiently completed by a company that's in the Fair Share program. Next slide. This slide talks a little bit more about our relationship building skills. We know that companies do business with people that we know. We all do. We all like to do business with someone that we know. We want to make sure that everyone who's on our team is a good fit. So we spend a fair amount of time trying to help everyone build relationships. It's just that also when it is time to bid on contracts, we know who each other's companies are, and we're not trying to wander around trying to figure out who do I reach out to. So these one-on-one meetings is something that we have done historically in the past to help build those relationships such that everybody can also understand the goals and the needs of each other and can do better business together. Next slide. We also recognize that companies want to grow. So we have this business growth development plan. Under that, we've identified what have been some of the issues. Some of the issues sometimes in growth of a company or in bidding is clearly understanding the requirements. So what we have done to try to help address that is to provide opportunities for persons to actually go through bidding processes such that they can clearly understand what is going to be talked about, what is going to be required. Also, you have 4 other things that we talk about here, and that is we partner with other programs and services to provide educational classes addressing financial record keeping. We found that when we go to try to get lines of credit, sometimes we just have not put all of our things in place, such that when we go to a financial institution, we help that. So in order to help companies grow, we partner with other entities to help do sessions on financial record keeping. We also help companies look at best practices in marketing. How do you actually market your business? And also, how do you be very good at estimating? Because at the end of the day, one of the things that is important is that our prices are competitive. Next slide. Access to capital. We find that this comes up all the time, and this is one of the things that is critical in helping a company grow, is how do they have access to the financial capital in order to be able to grow their company. Right now, we're in the middle of working on an initiative to help more companies gain lines of credit. And you see that there are several people that we are working with around the community to help address that. The Baton Rouge Area Chamber, their Diversity and Inclusion Committee. Also the Mayor's Office, the Baton Rouge Procurement Opportunity Program, and the Central Federal Credit Union. We're all working together to see how do we help companies gain greater access to lines of credit, because it is lines of credit that helps companies actually grow and sustain themselves during projects and between projects. Next slide. So finally, I put my contact information here, but also for additional information on how to apply, there's a link to our EBR school system page, when there you can go there and find out more information about the Fair Share program and more information about potential projects that may be coming up. I'm kind of a person that likes to be able to answer questions and not just talk. So if we have any questions that anyone would like to ask, I'd be more than happy to see if we can put these in our chat page or something like that. And I'll try to address them. So one question that sometimes comes up is, why should a person go through a certification process such as the Fair Share? And why should a person be a part of the Fair Share program? Certification processes help companies really know that a company is who they say they are. And many federal programs require that you go through some things like this. But as far as the procurement opportunities in the East Baton Rouge Parish Public School System, the certification process actually asks, what are some of the projects you've worked on in the past? So it helps us better align companies with opportunities that may be coming up. Another reason for certification processes is an example is with Aramark. Aramark has a system in place, their corporate office, whereby companies can get paid faster. But what it requires is that you have to have been a part of some certification process in order to be able to get payments faster. Another reason for being a part of a program such as the Fair Share program is having knowledge of opportunities when they do come up, because that is one of our primary objectives. How do we make sure that persons are aware of opportunities in a timely manner, not just the day before, but give them ample time to be ready to take advantage of the opportunities. So these are some of the advantages of being in a program such as the Fair Share program. Another question that persons often ask is, what are some of the types of things that the EBR school system offer as far as opportunities? Some of the main ones are around the construction of schools and the renovations of schools. And that covers everything from persons who are in the architectural design arena, persons who are in the actual doing of paintings of schools, concrete work, fencing, glass, roofing, all of those type things are some of the things that are part of most projects. There's also landscaping opportunities that do come about. But outside of that, opportunities exist as far as even with foods and nutrition. We've had some opportunities to look at a company that could potentially provide seasoning. We've also looked at the professional development sessions and also accounting. So all of these are areas that the Fair Share program in East Baton Rouge Parish School System provides opportunities for.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith. I guess if Ms. Banks is on the line, we can proceed.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm super excited to be with you guys today. We're going to give just a moment for Kim to help transition us. And I want to talk to you today about MOVEBR. We are a strategy of Metromorphosis. Metromorphosis is a local nonprofit that's committed to revitalizing urban communities and helping to lead change from within. The strategy that Stacy and myself work on is called MOVEBR. And that encompasses our work with small businesses through the Green Technology Business Academy, the coaching and training and technical assistance that we provide to small businesses. Also, the Baton Rouge Procurement Opportunity Partnership, which the Mayor's Office and Fair Share and the Baton Rouge Area Chamber have been instrumental in helping to bring forward. And next, MOVEBR. We do the small business outreach for the MOVEBR program. And so I'm going to dive into a little bit of that today. Next slide. So let's talk about coaching, training, and technical assistance. When you're getting ready to do business with Fair Share, Turner, Exxon, there may be documents that you're not familiar with, bid packages that it's your first time filling it out, or you're the only person in your office who can do this work. It's really good to have an extra set of hands, and that's what we provide over at Metromorphosis. When you become a business that's registered with us for free, you get small business coaching and technical assistance to complete all those documents, to help you register in these different vendor systems, to answer your questions, just in case you can't get in touch with someone from the different purchasing offices that you want to do business with. We're here to provide that. We also provide specialized trainings, especially in the green infrastructure and horticulture fields. We also provide other trainings, like how to use the business resources at the local library, also business credit. We have a session coming up, 2 sessions coming up in the local library. And then tomorrow night, I'm sorry, y'all, tonight, I can't believe today is Thursday already. Tonight, we'll be hearing from Jerry at nav.com to talk about business credit. So if any of these topics are topics that you need help with, we are here to provide that training and support. I'm a certified Coast Guarders trainer. And check out Coast Guarders. It's an amazing curriculum, international. In Louisiana, I believe we only have it in New Orleans and Baton Rouge. And it helps businesses to start or scale. And also Stacy Baxter on our team is trained in finance. Stacy knows QuickBooks like the back of her hand. She can help set up certified payroll. If you're doing Davis-Bacon wages, any of that type of work, we have the expertise to help you with that. I graduated from LSU College of Business. Stacy graduated from the College of Business over at Southeastern Louisiana University. So we are homegrown leaders who moved away and moved back to make change in our community. Next slide. BR POP, so the Baton Rouge Procurement Opportunity Partnership. One of the things that John Smith alluded to is that major procurers in our parish, both public and private, voluntarily came together and said, guess what? We've got to increase supplier diversity in our parish in order to grow our economy. And so the Procurement Council that was formed from that last summer has set out on a mission to create different policy adjustments internally to create a more equitable playing field for women, veterans, and minority-owned businesses. Some of those policy adjustments have meant expanding purchasing thresholds. That work has included tracking diversity in companies that had not tracked before, putting special lists together for department level purchasing officers. And so there's a myriad of procurement adjustments that have been made to pave the way for you guys to make more money and improve our local economy. I want to encourage you to become a vetted business with us today. And it's very simple. You're going to answer a couple key questions. You can get started on your application by visiting launchbr.com. When you go to LaunchBR, you're going to click on Get Started. And when you click Get Started, there's a form that's going to drop down. It's going to ask you for some basic business information. If there's something you don't know the answer to, leave it blank. Stacy and I will give you a call and we can fill it in together. We can find all that information out. But what we do with that listing is, number one, we vet you. That means we call your references. That means we check your Secretary of State profile. So if all those things aren't up to date, that's fine. We can help you through it. The second thing that we do is to promote you on our social media, but also in our Procurement Council meetings. Yes, that means 24 of the most successful companies in our parish will be looking at your business and saying, man, how can I do business with this person? Being DBE certified is really good, but it's not required for every place. And so let us know if we can help you get that certification. But secondly, don't let that stop you from becoming a vetted business with us. We want you in our database. But the third thing that we do with the list is to share it with consumers in the parish, even companies that are not actually in our procurement office, in our procurement council. They call us for recommendations. And so we want to be able to pass your information along. Become a vetted business with us, reach out to us, and we'll help with that. I'm so excited, Courtney Davis, to see that you are filling that application out now. It also comes with free coaching. And so you won't be alone in trying to navigate the playing field. We got your back. Next slide. Let's talk about MOVEBR. So I'm super excited. If you guys do streets, roads, bridge work, landscape, and green infrastructure, I am so excited about MOVEBR for you. I'm especially excited about MOVEBR for our parish. I always laugh. I say it took a woman leader to get this kind of work done. And I'm going to show you why in just a second. Take a look at the next slide. And I feel like I could joke with y'all since we're at a DBE conference. So women have a very special way of thinking about things and bringing the pieces together. And I believe this program is going to be amazing for us. And it's a myriad of pieces, from green infrastructure to drainage improvements, to ADA compliance, to expanding roads so that we can handle more traffic and people. So I'm super excited to see this come to our parish. A half-cent sales tax has been instituted parish-wide. It started April 2019, and it's going to last until March of 2049. If that's going to be $1 billion invested in our local community. And guess what? Food and medical prescriptions are not going to be taxed. So that means this will not hurt people who are on limited incomes, our senior citizens, some of our poorest families will not feel this tax, right? And the proceeds can only be spent on this approved list of projects. That is government oversight, and I'm excited to see that. Next slide. So let me tell you about the design philosophy behind MOVEBR. That traffic congestion must be relieved, right? It is estimated that billions of dollars, I actually have the statistic somewhere, but I've been taking so many notes today. Today's just been such a rich conference. Billions of dollars are lost every year due to traffic congestion in the 5 most congested cities. And so that means a city can be big in population, but if traffic can move, economic development can happen and those cities can grow. They attract Fortune 500 companies. They attract people to move from other states to work and live there. And the quality of life and health is better in cities that have less traffic. So that's one thing that we're targeting through MOVEBR, to reduce that congestion. Second thing is embracing complete streets. It is the idea that a street should have lighting, greenery, walk paths, bike paths, curb cuts, so that strollers and wheelchairs can get down and have mobility, that there will be lights when you cross, and that the markings on the road are very clear. Now, y'all, I'm a native here, and I can tell you that our streets have not always embraced this complete streets philosophy, and I'm excited to see it. I think it will help with mobility, and it will reduce traffic. You have fewer people that are getting into accidents, and so I'm excited to see complete streets come to our city. Next is green infrastructure. Now, that's one that's close to my heart because my friends of mine flooded, a lot of people living with me during 2016. My car flooded in a very recent flash flood last year. And so I can tell you that unless we fix our drainage system, and unless we figure out ways to improve our water quality, we're gonna be in a bad spot, you guys. And so green infrastructure is a methodology to do that. And you've probably seen green infrastructure when you travel to other places. I imagine that when you've been riding down the road in a different city, and you see all this vegetation growing on the side of the road, you're like, oh, this is nice. Those trees look on purpose. They are. They were planted there to help catch the runoff. Sometimes you're walking, and we have it in our city that I can think of in 2 or 3 places. One is Women's Hospital. The second is White Star Market's parking lot, or the former White Star Market parking lot, and then Albertson's on Government Street's parking lot. You'll notice that as you walk in certain spots, it looks like you're walking on little squares. And there's a gap or space between each one. That is, oh, did my Zoom go away? Can y'all hear me okay? Zoom just shut down on me.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Oh, great. Did you get to hear green infrastructure?
Some of it.
Okay.
You want to start that over a little bit? Okay.
Oh, thank you. I will definitely do that. So green infrastructure is the methodology that's used to help drain stormwater and also filter it back into the earth in a more natural way. And you've passed some green infrastructure in our city. It's mostly in a lot of other cities. We just haven't progressed to that level yet. And I'll give you some examples that you'll probably recognize. If you've ever been in White Star Market's parking lot, you see the little round rocks that you park on top of, and there's gaps and space in between them. It's almost like the rocks were put into a little grid. That's green infrastructure. What happens in White Star Market parking lot is when the rain comes down pretty quickly, it hits that rock and grid structure, and the water actually flows into it. And right under that is earth, it's soil. And so the water can flow directly into the earth and be seeped in. Instead of hitting what we call gray infrastructure, or just the asphalt or concrete, and run off into the street and flood the street. Or if you've ever been to Albertson's parking lot, and you'll notice the little square grid-like system in parts of the parking lot there. When you ride down roads, mainly in other cities, New Orleans has lots of green infrastructure, the Scandinavian countries, Chattanooga, Seattle has a bunch of green infrastructure. So I'm sure that you guys have seen it, just may not know the name of it. When you ride down the road and you see all these trees planted, you see these big embankments on the side of the interstate, and they're filled with greenery. That's not just there as landscaping. It's not just beautification. Guess what it's doing? It's cleaning the water and it's slowing the draining of the water in that area. And so what happens is in those cities, a lot of times their roads are not flooding because when the rain comes down, it's hitting a permeable surface. It's hitting a surface that the water can seep into instead of just hitting gray infrastructure, which is our asphalt and our concrete. When rain hits it, it just runs off and pools together, right? And that's what causes our cars to flood and our homes to flood. So green infrastructure helps out with that. It also helps to cleanse the water. So when water just runs off, it catches all of the oils and pollution that have been tracked in by the cars. But when the water hits green stuff, you know, plants, foliage, vegetation, when it hits the soil and the greenery, it actually filters down into the earth, returns into the water table, and it can replenish our aquifers that way. So much better for our environment, much better for us, and it will help us, not to say that it could prevent flooding, but what we have found is that cities that have green infrastructure save way more money on infrastructure. It's very easy to maintain. And secondly, that green infrastructure projects help to clean the air, they help to clean the water, and they reduce flooding so significantly that some cities don't have the issues that we have. And cities like New Orleans have instituted it as a mandate. Literally, when you build a building in New Orleans today, or if you do renovations, you have to pull up all of that concrete. You can't overpave your parking, right? You cannot overpave your personal driveway at your home anymore because the flooding was so bad that they had to change that. So green infrastructure, super important to us. I'm excited to see that our city is taking it seriously. It's also an industry that I'm encouraging so many people, especially our women, veterans, and minorities to go into, because Baton Rouge's economy does not have enough people to support the demand that's about to come. So we have MOVEBR, that's an opportunity, but we're also improving our drainage plan. And so that's coming up. And so it is projected that in Louisiana, this industry will grow to $23 billion in the next 2 years. And so we want to be ready to do that work. We don't want to see a bunch of people from out of state have to drive in to do this work for us. And lastly, debundling of projects. So one of the pieces of the MOVEBR philosophy is that these big, huge projects should not stay bundled together and go to the same old firms that have always received them. We want to see historically disadvantaged businesses and businesses that have not always participated in public work receive these funds. We recognize that everyone in our community is paying taxes, and we want to see all the businesses supported. All the businesses have equal opportunities. And we recognize that our women, veteran, and minority-owned firms often don't have access to capital, just like Don talked about. Their bonding access is often smaller than the other big boys that have been in business a lot longer. And so we want to see some changes internally that help to even that playing field. One of the ways that we're doing that is debundling projects. So taking these really huge projects that used to go to these white male-owned firms, and we're breaking those down into smaller pieces that you guys can compete for. So I want to make sure that y'all are ready for that too. Reach out to us if y'all need any help for that, any help with that. Next slide.
Miss,
So the vision statement.
how long, are you going to be very much longer? Our next speaker is kind of on limited time, and I didn't know.
Oh, yes. So that's the vision statement for MOVEBR. Let's take the next slide. And I think the others you guys can get with us. Just gives you an example of the projects and the proposed funding for these projects. So this gives you an example of the market that is now available for you guys to begin bidding in. Next slide. And this is all found on the MOVEBR website. Small business outreach, I'm just going to hit 2 points on it. You can go to the next slide and I'll be done. So we do outreach to targeted small businesses. You do not have to be certified in order to participate. So don't let that stop you. If you want to do business with MOVEBR, visit the website. There's coaching provided. If you need assistance with anything, registering for anything or understanding anything, you can give us a call. We're also working on a video program so that you can do this at your leisure. Next. Certifications are not required, but we would love to know them. In the past, many people have not designated their certification because they didn't want to be discriminated against. There's a new regime, a new leadership, and we are welcoming every different type of business to apply to do business with MOVEBR. And we want to know who you are so that we can help to track our success. Next. There's my contact information. Email is the best way because we're all working from home due to COVID-19. And I also want to encourage you to check out the MOVEBR website and sign up to do a video profile. This video profile will be shared with the Association of General Contractors, all of the procurement officers, and it's one of those things that you can do this professionally produced video. It's like a commercial for your business, and you can download it and add it to your own website and use it to market your company. So super excited to serve you guys. Send me an email if you need any help.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Miss Marina?
Hello.
Hi. Are you going to be able to at least talk for a few minutes for us?
Yes, guys, I do have a few minutes left before I have to host another meeting. So I just wanted to introduce my clinic really quick and just let you know what type of services we have and what we actually do. And wonderful presentation, Tyra. Always difficult to go after Tyra. She's such a wonderful presenter. But my name is Marina Brago, for those who do not know me, and I lead the Technology and Entrepreneurship Clinic at Southern University Law Center. Can we go to the next slide? I wanted to give you a little bit of a background of what our clinic actually is. The USPTO Law School Clinic Certification Program is one of the most recent initiatives of the United States Patent and Trademark Office, and we are fortunate to be one of the very few, you can see, law schools to be included in the program. So we host both patent and trademark clinics within our institution, so it benefits our clients in both segments. Can we go to the next slide, please? Our areas of expertise include business formation and structuring, contract drafting, contract review, contract structuring, industry-specific licensing and compliance obligations, etc. Of course, we do intellectual property. We are certified, as I mentioned earlier, by the United States Patent and Trademark Office. So patents, trademarks, copyright, trade secret is definitely a significant part of what we do within the clinic. We also do community outreach, and I will get back to that to this point in a little bit. Next slide. Yeah, just to mention, we were ranked the first patent drafting team in South region and Southwest region. We also ranked second in the nation. So it's quite a recognition coming from the United States Patent and Trademark Office, considering every school, that law school that participated. So if you request to work with us, you will be represented by highly recognized team by the United States Patent and Trademark Office. Next slide, please. All right, so as I mentioned earlier, we do provide individual consulting in those areas, but we cannot possibly provide individual consulting to every single person who needs our assistance. And the way we address it is we partner with a number of local small business development organizations and provide informational workshops and classes on legal essentials, intellectual property basics, business structures, business contracts and agreements, employment law to some degree, and of course, every now and then we touch base on franchising and some of the legal ramifications of a franchise agreement, so that as a small business owner, you can at least understand some of the areas you need to be on the lookout for. Next slide, please. Just recently, we also partner with HP and HP Foundation to provide our clients and our constituents with a number of very useful small business resources and educational tools. So again, you can contact the clinic, and we will provide you access to some of those workshops and educational training programs. Some of the programs, again, we offer through HP is social media marketing, graphic design, finances, etc. So again, if you are interested, please reach out, and I will provide you with more information on how you can be a part of it. Again, completely free. All of our services are free, I forgot to mention. All right, next slide, please. And of course, one of our most recent initiatives is create your legal checklist. And the purpose of this initiative is to reach out to our small business community and encourage them to really look at their legal affairs and see where they can use some help. So if you feel like there is some issues that you probably want to at least know how it's best to be done from the legal standpoint, we will provide those checklists and that information and educational materials through this workshop. We offer 5 different separate sessions, so you can select your session. It's just 1 hour, again, just to give you an overview of some of the potential issues, and you can select whichever session you prefer. In addition to that, we have partnered with the University of New Orleans to conduct a survey and research of the state of our small business community, just so that we can bring more resources and more funding and probably more tailored resources to the community. So again, we strongly encourage you to participate in this research project. We would love to hear from as many small businesses as possible. Again, if you are interested, if you can spare 15 minutes of your time, please get in touch with me, sign up for this workshop, take the survey. As our thank you, we offer a $40 Amazon gift card to every participant. So again, if you are interested, please send an email to the clinic, and I will get you situated. All right, next slide, please. All right, and again, there are different ways you can really join the clinic and support our efforts. You can sponsor our programs and initiatives. You can partner with us on our programs and initiatives. You can support our students. You can provide resources to the faculty, or you can help us administer those training sessions and classes. So again, we always welcome potential collaborations. Again, if you are interested in partnering with us, please let us know. And my contact information is in the next slide. Our email is info@sulctech.org. Our phone number is 225-424-8177. And like Tyra mentioned, email is probably the best way to get in touch with us at this point. So if you have any questions, would like to partner, or would like to get our help, please send me an email to this email address, and we'll see what we can do for you. All right, that would be it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Lewis, are you on the line?
Yes, ma'am, I am.
Okay, you can proceed.
All right, excellent. So good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you all this morning. My name is Daryl Lewis, and I serve as the WIOA Chief Administrator for East Baton Rouge Parish. For those of you who may not be familiar with the acronym, it stands for the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, which is federal legislation that provides grant funding to local areas to assist individuals who may have barriers to employment or employment training opportunities. Here in Baton Rouge, the WIOA program is administered through MOVEBR, which is located at 4523 Plank Road. So what I'd like to do this morning is I'm going to give you just a small overview of our program and our participant eligibility requirements. And then I'll provide information on some of the programs and services we provide not only our participants, but to local employers. So as WIOA was signed into law in 2014, it replaced the Workforce Investment Act that some of you may have heard of, workforce investment boards and things of that nature. WIOA legislation replaced that legislation. And again, it is designed to provide federal grant funding to local areas to assist with barriers to employment or employment training opportunities. To be deemed eligible for WIOA services through MOVEBR, individuals must be residents of EBR parish, and they have to meet certain eligibility requirements. To apply for our services, individuals must submit an eligibility application and the required supporting documents, both of which can be found on our website at employebr.com. And these documents can be submitted electronically via email at employbr21, that's the number 21, at brla.gov. Now, under WIOA, we operate under three basic client categories, or what we call funding streams. They are youth, adult, and dislocated worker. Our youth funding stream is broken down a little further into in-school youth and out-of-school youth, with the majority of our funding going to out-of-school youth based on the legislation. For adult eligibility, you must be 18 years or older and meet the federal poverty guidelines. Currently, that means earning roughly $12,000 annually for a single person household, or an additional $4,800 annually for each additional person in that household. Now, for individuals that have been laid off or have experienced long-term unemployment, who have receiving or may have exhausted their unemployment insurance benefits, been subject to a WARN notice, or maybe there's been a closure due to the pandemic, those individuals may qualify for our services under what's called our dislocated worker funding stream. Now, once eligible, individuals or once they're deemed eligible, we can provide them with a wide array of services to assist them obtain employment and or employment training. We offer what's called individual training accounts that allows participants to be placed into approved training programs, and we cover the cost of their tuition. Currently, we partner with over 25 training providers, both public and private, offering courses in everything from HVAC to nursing, CDLs to CompTIA and Oracle, various construction crafts, and healthcare positions. Participants are also able to take advantage of our paid employment training programs, which I'll discuss in detail in just a few. We also are able to offer what's called support services to our participants, which is probably my favorite resource. This allows us to further remove any barriers that our participants may face. Support services allow us to pay for books and materials for school, assist with childcare and or transportation issues, purchase uniforms or tools needed to start a job, or even provide weekly needs-related payments for participants that may be unemployed and are enrolled in an approved employment training course. Now, our supportive services are awarded to our participants on a case-by-case need-related base. Our participants also have access to our mandated and voluntary partner agencies that provide services such as housing assistance, vocational rehab, assistance for returning citizens, adult education, and reemployment services, to name just a few. So now I'd like to kind of switch gears, and we'll talk about the services that we can provide to employers. We provide services to employers, public, private, small, large, does not matter. Our employer services I would say is an area that we have made some of the greatest improvements over the past year. Recently, we have created a business services team, which is charged with spearheading recruitment efforts and managing our corporate partnerships. Currently, we partner with close to 50 local employers. I say local and national employers on a variety of programs, and we're currently working to increase that number. But these partnerships, these partnerships are what enables us to be able to offer paid employment training to our participants. Some of our paid employment training programs are on-the-job training program, our youth work experience, transitional jobs. So for our on-the-job training program, this allows employers who hire our participants as full-time employees to be reimbursed 50% of that employee's salary for up to 6 months or 1,040 hours, whichever comes first. Now, there are some stipulations attached to the program. You do have to contract with MOVEBR ahead before hiring the individuals. You also must provide a detailed training plan, detailing the training curriculum that will be used during the course of the OJT. The employee must work at least 32 hours a week and be compensated at least $12 an hour. And the most important thing, barring any unacceptable behavior or performance on the participant's part, that participant must be retained full-time at the conclusion of the program. We do track our OJT participants for up to 1 year after the conclusion of the program to see if they're still employed and to gauge their salaries. Now, our youth work experience program is a little different. This program provides opportunities for youth 16 to 24 years old to receive paid employment training. Youth are able to work up to 30 hours a week at approved work sites and earn $10 an hour for up to 1 year. The youth salary is paid through the WIOA grant, so there's no out-of-pocket expense for the approved work site. Becoming a work site, for those of you who just said, wait, you telling me you'll place someone to work at my company and you'll pay for them and they can work up to $30 an hour, and that got your attention. So to become a work site, it's pretty simple. It involves completing a 2-page application in which you will identify the position or positions the youth would be placed in. Once we receive that, we schedule an on-site visit by our program staff simply to go through an orientation and to ensure that the work site is safe for our participants. For inquiries about receiving an application for our youth program, you can submit an email to employbr21@brla.gov. One thing I failed to mention just now, our youth are only allowed to work in EBR parish, and this is simply for insurance purposes. So they can work anywhere in the parish, but they're not allowed to work outside of the parish. The next work experience program that we offer is called Transitional Jobs, and it's very similar to our youth program. And now we partner with local employers to serve as work sites. The participants' salaries are paid through the grant, but unlike youth, our transitional jobs are designed for dislocated workers, those that have made, as I mentioned earlier, may have been laid off, long-term unemployment, they've exhausted their uninsurance benefits, as well as returning citizens and ex-offenders. Now with this program, participants are paid $13 an hour. They can work up to 30 hours a week, and they can work for up to 16 weeks. So it's a much shorter program. Also, due to funding restrictions for transitional jobs, we're only able to place between 40 and 60 participants in this program annually. Now, our goal for the transitional jobs program is for employers to treat this program as a working interview, to evaluate participants and hopefully make a job offer at the conclusion of the program. But I must say that that is not a requirement to participate. That's what we would like to see happen, but there is no obligation at the end of the program that the employer offer full-time employment. The next program I want to mention is our customized training. So with customized training, this is a specialized program that allows employers who have identified a shortage of skilled applicants to design a training program and recruit MOVEBR participants for that program. Now, if the employer must present this program, the customized training program, before the local workforce development board and have it approved through them. And if approved, then the cost of the training program can be covered through the WIOA grant. One thing to note about customized training programs, they generally have guaranteed employment offers attached for participants that successfully complete the program. So if you're going to come before the board and present a customized training program, there needs to be an employer, a designated employer, and designated positions available for those that successfully complete the program. Now, outside of employment training programs just mentioned, our business services team also assists employers with things like hiring events, recruitment and pre-screening of applicants, advertising, posting of job openings, rapid response, and layoff aversion assistance. So I know that was a lot of information in a very short period of time. So if you would like more information about any of the programs and our services I mentioned this morning, please contact our business services team at 225-358-4579 or via email at employbr21@brla.gov. Thank you so much for your time, and we look forward to partnering with you in the near future. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to thank all the exhibitors that participated today, and we really appreciate it. I thought it went very well. Thank you.